It's been said many times before, but it won't stop me saying it again. Funny old game, football. 18 months ago, Bournemouth appointed 31-year-old former player Eddie Howe as manager. They were 10 points from safety at the bottom of the Football League at the time. One of his first jobs was to bring back club legend Steve Fletcher, who had been released in 2007 after 15 years on the South Coast and was playing non-league football for Crawley. The pair saved the club from the drop, and this season, despite winding up petitions, the late payment of players' wages and a transfer embargo, they took League Two's third automatic promotion place after a win at Burton. How was the journey home, Fletch? I was with you obviously at the stadium, but what was it like on that bus on the way home?
Yeah, the coach was rocking, as you can imagine. It was a great time. I mean, these occasions don't come along very often, and we got a lot of young lads in the team, and obviously their first major achievement for most of them. And yeah, it was a moment to be savoured. And actually, you said third. We could still snatch second, by the way. So
yeah, well, took the third spot. But I take your point. You're right. Your dander's up, and you're going for it. Can you believe it, mate? Has it quite sunk in? You know, playing for Crawley, there you are, and here you are. You could be dragging your weary 37-year-old bones around League One again. You will be.
If I'm in the League One, I'll be 38 because my birthday's in July, so the season would have started already. I'll be 38.
Will there be any questions that I ask you today where you won't be pulling me up and correcting me on them?
No, I just like to correct you. You know what Hartlepoolians are like. Yeah, it's a dream. I mean, I do sit down sometimes and think, my God. I mean, it's more when I speak to more my close family and friends, and they say, Fletch, can you believe this time 18 months ago you were on the sideline at Crawley, you'd only played a handful of games, you were looking like you have another year in the conference, because I was on a 2-year contract and it was just dwindling out to nothing, although it would have been a great career, because I mean I would still be playing it, I'd have been playing at 36, but I think these occasions like last season and what's happened to me this season, having the stand named after me last season, scoring my 100th goal to keep the club open, we survived after the 10-point deduction. I mean, they're just things you dream of as a kid. And I know it's at a lower level. I know it's not at the top end of the Premiership or whatever, but they're still dreams of it as a kid. And then to cap it all with getting promoted, it's absolutely unbelievable. And I think back of what was, and if somebody had turned around to me 18 months ago and said, oh, by the way, Fletch, and the next week you're going to be back at Bournemouth, your mate's going to be manager, he's going to get you back, and all this is going to happen to you in 18 months. I'd have just slapped them and said, wake up, what are you on about?
I'll tell you what, Fletch, you know, don't worry about what level it's at. I mean, there was a pub near the Pirelli Stadium on Saturday, and some bloke came bursting up to us. I was there for the Football League show, and he wanted to whip his shirt off, and there on his back, across his entire back, it said Fletcher with the number 10 there. I mean, that is dedication and a half, that somebody has indelibly stamped you on their torso for the rest of their lives.
It's unbelievable. I've seen that. I've met that gentleman. And the first thing I said to him was, why?
Yeah.
He went, because I love you. You know what? It nearly brought tears to my eyes when he said it, and you don't know what to say to something like that. I mean, I really wanted to say to him, what were you thinking about? But, yeah, to see something like that, and, you know, I go back and tell my parents and my friends this, and they're just, like, dumbfounded. My mum says to me, do you know what that means to people, Stephen? And I'm like, my mum obviously always puts things into perspective, and I'm like, Mum, well, I don't know what she says, well, what did you say to him? I said, I didn't know what to say. And them things, you know, like, even like I say, it is at a club that was way low down. I mean, we've played First Division most of our career. We've been in the Second Division for a couple of years. But even for things like that to happen to me, it's unbelievable. You don't even contemplate anything like that when you first start out, when you're like 18-year-old getting your first professional contract. I mean, I've had another couple come up to me. They've named their boy Fletcher. You know, this first name Fletcher. Little things like that that stick in your mind for memories, just as much as what happens on the field. Sometimes, you know, it's things that you do off it and what you're remembered for and what people do. You know, I've kept all the clippings of everything like that I've.
Have you? You keep the lot, do you, Steve? You really do keep your scrapbooks and everything?
I've kept a lot from Hartlepool when I started out as a YT, and then when I had the 2 years as a professional, and I've kept everything I've done at Bournemouth, whether it was going to see someone in hospital and it was just a little clipping in the paper, to all the euphoria we've had with the playoffs and getting promoted and last year, and anything for the full 18 years. I mean, it's just ridiculous how much I've kept, but I'm glad I've done it, you know, because I can look back on it now, and it's unbelievable just to look back and say, oh, look at me back in 1992 when I signed for Bournemouth, and I can show my daughters now, because they're 12 and 9 and they're at an age where they understand a lot more what's going on, and they're at school and people are telling them things, and then they're actually looking through the clippings now, and although they're girls and not boys, but they're still, I think, very proud of their dad.
Oh, be careful. Girls are allowed to be involved in football now. I mean, I know it's taking up man space on pitches and things, but girls get involved in football now. Listen, what about your relationship with Eddie? Because he was your mate. I mean, you were his captain. You used to room together and stuff. Has he made an exception for you to the sort of normal manager-player rule, or has there been a sort of change in your relationship since he became the gaffer?
Well, there has to be a slight change because, I mean, at the end of the day, he is my manager, and you know what I mean, I have total respect for him. I've got to look up to him, and well, there was not a problem with that. I mean, everybody said to me, and even Eddie himself when I first signed, was like, well, he's 6 years younger, and you used to room with him, and, you know, he was always like young Eddie to me. Watched him come up through the youth team ranks, and I always looked after him. You know, even when we went on away trips with the lads, just the groups, and Eddie was my roommate. And it was a bit strange to start with, but you know, he's the boss, and it does involve me, which does help. I would say that we've got that relationship where I'll go in the office maybe on a morning and sit with him and Jason Tyndall, the assistant. We'll go through a few things. He'll ask my opinion on a lot of ideas he's got, but at the end of the day, he makes all the decisions, and it's nice to see the other side of things, and he does get me involved, like I say, a little bit. But the relationship, it's funny because when we're out together and we're not in the stadium, it doesn't differ at all. But when we're actually out or within the football grounds or anywhere at the training ground, then obviously it does differ. It's where I am at the time and what's happening is how really we can talk about certain things. But we're good friends, always have been, always will be. I've still got to go and knock on his door in the next couple of weeks and see what's happening next season. So,
well, that's why I was a little hesitant about you know, you could be playing in League One. You do actually, your contract's up, is it? Or that's something you're going to have to negotiate and talk about with him?
Yeah, my contract's up, I think, along with another 5 or 6 players. So I'll be one of them going in at the end of the season. I didn't want to talk about it because of, obviously, there's more important things to happen on the field. So now it's all done and dusted. Probably wait and maybe get Saturday over with. That'll be our last home game, and then when I'm in the office one morning having a cup of coffee with him, because I go in early and I drop the kids off from school, and I'll sit with him and maybe ask him what's going to happen.
Could coaching be a possibility, Steve? Could you become part of the setup there? I mean, can you? You know, I can't imagine your life without Bournemouth. Can you?
No, I'd love to. And to be honest, the chairman pulled me in about 6 weeks ago, and he said, "Fletch, I want you to stay on at the club, regardless of whatever happens, whether you retire this year, next year, the year after." But they've offered me like an ambassador role at the club. We haven't really sat down and negotiated what exactly it would entail, but the chairman's already said, "I don't want you to leave. Whatever happens, and when you decide to give up playing, there'll be a place here at the club for you." But if I had a choice, yes, I'd love to stay on with Jason and Eddie and work with them, but obviously you've got to take in a lot of things into consideration, financial side of things, what division we're in, what status the club's in. At the moment, obviously, you know, we're now bare bones, so we can't just be offering me a coaching job with the first team if there's nothing available. So, but I want at my present time is I want to keep playing as long as I can, or I believe I can make some type of difference. Then I'll keep playing. Why not? I mean, I've started 39 games, league games this season. So, I mean, I probably realistically would have said I'd be happy to get half of them, 23. So I've more than overachieved, but I've still got to be in his mind for the next season. I mean, I hope I am. I hope I've proved my worth this season. People have said to me, I've had my best season they've seen me have, and I think I've matured and got better with age. I think I've realised, being away from the club from the 18 months that I was out when I went to Chesterfield and Crawley, how much I missed the club, what it meant to be, and I think I've come back a better player, even though I was older, because I didn't want any one game to pass me by. And obviously I wanted to play for Eddie and reward him for giving me the one more chance, and every game matters to me now. I'm not saying it didn't before, but it matters a hell of a lot more, and I always play each game as if it's my last, and it's the most important game of my career. And I hope I've done enough to warrant Eddie offering me some type of playing contract. And if he turns around to me and says, "I'd like to incorporate you more into the coaching side of things," then that'd be fantastic as well.
Well, listen, many congratulations. You've made a lasting impression on Gav Strachan as well. Gav, go and ask him your question.
Here we go.
No, all I was saying was Fletcher's a lower league legend. I used to enjoy going to see him with his shirt sleeves rolled up, showing them big biceps. That was all big fella. That's all right, isn't it?
You said he used sticky tape, you were telling me before we started this week's podcast. What do you do with your arms, Steve? What do you do? Do you just roll them up, or is there a bit of glue around there as well?
You know, I haven't done it this season. The lads keep saying to me, "You got to do it for the last game of the season," and I haven't done it. I didn't do it since I came.
You need to, man. You need to.
It's the only thing I've got in the locker, Mark. I mean, I haven't got much skill. I've got no pace. So I only use my brute strength. So if I can get my sleeves rolled up and get my biceps out, then I can knock a few defenders around. And I suppose that's what's helped me play football for so long.
Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Many congratulations.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you, mate.
See you, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.
That's Bournemouth, Steve Fletcher. Hey, actually, his mum and dad do have a pub down on Church Street in Hartlepool. I forgot to ask him what it's called, but I'm sure you've been thrown out of there several times when you were on your northeast experience.
No, I'm one of the well-behaved ones.
Of course.